How's it going, everybody? I want to invite you to the second episode of the podcast, Trade Secrets by Tripletote. Today I have a very special guest. This guy I've known a great part of my life, and I've got to see him grow and evolve throughout that time. The topic of this episode of the podcast is about change and why change is necessary and how to make changes in a very practical way that anybody can do. And I've seen this guy change careers more than one time and have success after that change. So I want to interview him today about his story so that he can give out information about how anybody from where they are can make a change. Everybody, I want you to welcome Davonne Biggins to the podcast.
How's it going? It's good, good. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Man, thanks so much for coming out.
No problem.
Now, what I want to key in on is your story.
Okay.
You know, after we went to high school together.
Definitely, yeah.
So after high school, I know you moved out of state and you went to school.
Right.
That's right. And then you ended up coming back. Could you tell us a little bit of the backstory of what got you to leave, which is change, and then what made you come back?
So what got me to leave was, after graduation, I went away to college, man. I wanted to get away from home, see some stuff, see different things. So I went down to North Carolina, Johnson C. Smith University, where I majored in biology. Did 2.5 semesters there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was back home. Literally it was an unfortunate situation. But I did get into a little bit of trouble in school, so I had to come back home. But, you persevere, you keep moving.
That's right. Now, the one thing that I liked is when you left, I had stayed.
Right.
So I saw you leave, and I was like, whoa, like that was a big step at that age that somebody was actually going away.
Right.
We live in a small town, Hartford, and for somebody to go take on a bigger world, it always felt like, whoa.
Right.
Now, when you came back, what was the feeling like coming from a big situation, a big area, back to Hartford?
It was bittersweet, man. Of course, I wanted to be in school. Like I said, I was a bio major. Was planning on going, pre-med. That was my goal at the time. So, with kind of school being put on hold, it kind of just put me in a different world. I didn't know which way to go. So when I came home, I didn't really even have a plan. Because everything happened so fast. Like, I got into an incident, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm back home mid-semester. 2.5 semesters already in college. So you kind of get into a little mode. Kind of not depressed, but you kind of feel sorry for yourself. But at the end of the day, you got to just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you came back, you reconnected with moms, and
right.
you got back to the house.
Right.
And I remember that. And then I remember we had been talking regularly, but not in detail about what was going on. And then I looked up, and you had your own place.
Right.
And then I was like, what is this guy doing? And you ended up getting a job working, I guess, at the post office or something like that?
Yeah, so, my first job back, man, was, actually I had 2. So I was working third shift at the Christmas tree shop.
Yeah.
I was doing like a 12 to 7 shift there, 11 to 7 shift there. But then I picked up a job at the post office. Initially, it started off seasonal, but, after the season, they picked people to keep on.
Yeah.
And so I was one of the people that they kept on. I think I stayed there for like a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were at one point working 2 jobs.
2 jobs.
And you weren't doing easy things. Those jobs, manual labor.
Yeah, for sure. Out there, especially in the airport. So, the Christmas tree shop, once I didn't do that for too long, just the hours was just so crazy.
Yeah.
But, at the airport, out there with the planes and, sorting all the mail.
Yeah.
So you're on your feet for hours at a time. So, definitely puts a strain on you.
Oh, definitely. Now from there, we begin to have conversations, and you begin to talk about wanting to get into dentistry and dental hygiene.
Right.
How did you make that switch from doing something that's so manually exhaustive to want to do something so meticulous? It's like, how did you make that switch?
So when I came back home, of course, Mom, like, you could get a job, but then what still what you gonna do? So it's funny because my grandmother and my mom were both nurses for like over 30 years.
Wow.
So initially, since I already had the science background, I thought maybe I would go into like nursing or something like that. So when I did the applications, the waiting period was so long that I was like, man, what else can I do? So I actually called my dental hygienist. I don't know if you remember Rohan from Cathedral. So I called his mom. She was my hygienist. And I'm like, well, what you do to get there? And she was like, she told me the school she went through. She told me the people to call. So I actually called the people at the school. And they were like, well, this program is an accelerated program. You really should have some background in dentistry. We do have a dental assistant program, that you can get into right now. And if you like it, then I would say move forward into the dental hygiene. So that's kind of how I got started. So I think that day I hung up, I went to the school, signed up for the program to start in the fall. And that's how I got into the dental assistant.
Now, when you first did that, when you were already working crazy hours doing manual labor, stocking shelves and doing pack out, things of that nature, these big shops, how did it feel when you first applied for the program? Like, were you feeling like, hope it works? Were you scared it wouldn't work? Were you scared you weren't going to be able to do it? What was your emotion during that transition from just trying to get started?
I had to get it done. I felt like, I kind of, I was disappointed in myself not being able to pursue my initial career path.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to do something, So it's basically, I picked up a trade in the field that I was pretty comfortable with because I already had like a science background. And I was excited about the new venture. Honestly, something new. I felt like I was kind of getting myself back on the right track. And be able to find a career, not just working different kind of jobs too as well.
Now, after becoming a dental assistant and working in an office, you took it further and you got more into the dental industry. From there, what was your next pursuit?
So my next pursuit after, I think I was a dental assistant, I think for maybe 5 years. And so I was like, man, I wanted to do more. So I went back to school to become a dental hygienist. I was working for a woman, Dr. Robin Santiago, at the time. And she made the call for me. Actually, I remember being in her office and we just having a conversation. She was like, you got to keep going. Yeah. You need to push forward. Like this is okay. Yeah. But definitely who you are, what you are, I think you could do better. She actually called that afternoon at lunch. She called the head of the program, told her about me, and I went and I had an interview.
Wow.
For the hygiene program.
Now, once you got into the hygiene program, as I was checking out your story, it was a real grind for you.
Absolutely.
How did you manage that?
Man, so the hygiene program is demanding. So it's a full-time classes. You got class 8 in the morning, also in the evening. You could have what you call I can't
labs?
The word. Not really labs, but what's the word I'm thinking of? Clinicals. Clinicals where you go to different hospitals, you go to different settings, and you work there as well. So one of the things they told you when you start the program is you will not be able to work a full-time job as you go through this program. So with me just getting a new place, kind of just getting back on my feet, I'm like, how is this going to even happen? For 3 years, like how am I not supposed to work? And so this was right after the post office, and so I actually started delivering newspapers in New Britain. I was living in New Britain at the time.
Wow.
So for like 3 years straight, I I delivered papers 7 days a week. You know, and I think in between that I worked at Home Depot too. I think I worked at Home Depot for like a summer, like maybe like 4 or 5 months. But yeah, man, it was a grind. It was definitely a grind, man, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it.
Now, when you're in this grind, you're getting up, you're delivering papers, and the papers come to the house, the doorstep, like 6 in the morning. So what time are you getting up?
Oh, man. You know, I would have class at like 8, you know, so I would put my scrubs on, you know, and I put my clothes on top of it, like my regular, my jeans or my sweatshirt, whatever on top of it. And I get up, you know, like 4 or 5 in the morning, and go to deliver papers. So I delivered like 270 papers, 260 papers.
Every day?
Every day. Every day.
How? I know they bundle like for kids that get paper routes and get started.
Right.
I know they have a bundle that's considered a route. I don't know if it's like 30 papers or what have you. How many papers were considered one route?
Well, it all depends, man. I was delivering papers in just the surrounding towns. So it was like New Britain, Berlin, Kensington, Newington, those areas as well. So it just depends on, you know, the routes. But, you know, initially when I started, I only was doing like 100.
Yeah.
You know, like 100 people. And people were leaving and people weren't doing their routes properly. So I just picked up as many as I could. Wow. You know, and then you just get into a system. You know what I mean? I had a 2-door car. I packed my back seat, you know, I packed my front seat up with papers, my back seat up with papers. And as I'm driving, you know, I'll be bagging them up and throwing them into like a big pile. And you get comfortable with your routes, you know, so you kind of know where to go and where people want their papers and, you know, things of that nature. So it becomes a routine like everything else, you know. So there be times where, you know, I get a little break from school, you know, but I'll be out partying or whatever, but I still
gotta get
I would literally go home, change my clothes and go right back out.
So you go from, let's say, partying at a nightclub or at a bar, straight to home, change, don't even go to sleep, go right to start delivering papers.
Yeah. My roommate used to be like, yo, you crazy. My boy G used to be like, yo, we come home, you know, after hitting the diner or whatever, he goes shut down, I'm walking back out the house. Get ready to go pick up my route.
Now, you deliver how many papers daily?
Like 270.
So keep in mind, the first part of this journey to be in dental hygiene school, the first part of the day is what we just talked about. And then you still had to go to school and classes.
All day. Yeah.
What time did your day end?
Well, it depends. So the first year we didn't do we did clinicals on our own, so we worked on each other. So we would go up to UConn. I think it was from like 5 to 8 or something like that. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then the other days we would have like labs and stuff. So a short day would be maybe 8 to 4. You know, a long day would be maybe 8 to 8.
Wow. So some days you could literally be up from 4 in the morning to 8 at night.
Absolutely.
Working in school.
A lot of those days.
Yeah.
I still got to study. You know what I mean? A&P 1 and 2. You know, bio, head and neck anatomy. You know, some real intense coursework for sure.
Yeah, and then you got to study. This is not just
right. You know, you still got to fit that in, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, some long nights.
It sounds like it. Definitely sounds like it. So then after you took all the classes and did all your clinicals, you got to the final exams of your dental hygiene training. Right. Now, I personally know that something not expected happened that made it even more difficult for you to pass your finals. What was that?
Yeah, so it was actually my birthday, man. Probably, you know, what's today? February 7th or something like that. So it was a Friday, February 1st. I remember me, you, and Trav in the gym. Mm-hmm. You know, this is like my last semester. I'm getting ready to finish up. And we're in the gym getting ready to go party, celebrate the birthday. And I ended up dropping like a 75-pound weight on my hand, breaking 2 of my fingers and just making a big mess. Yeah. A big mess, man. So that was horrible. That was horrible, painful.
Yeah. And then how far were was your final exam and your final clinical to demonstrate after that?
Yeah, so I think I was like 3 months away. And so, like I mentioned, with clinical, so I was pretty much at my clinical point of my hygiene career, where you're taking less classes, but you're more out in the field. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't my right hand, fortunately, it was my left hand, and you can still see
a little crooked, right?
still a little crooked.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was hard. So I missed like my first 2 weeks of my clinicals.
Wow.
And with the hygiene program, everything it's not like you could just go over the summer and take it. So it's like a second semester type of thing.
Oh, you have to repeat a whole semester.
Right. So, man, I pushed through it. A lot of people just looked out for me, man, and gave me the opportunities to make up my clinicals. Mm-hmm. And I had like a brace on, but I couldn't put the glove on. So a lot of times I just took it off, and I just tried to work through it.
Wow.
Wow. I was a student. I should have had surgery. I needed pins and all that, but as a student, I didn't even have like insurance.
Yeah.
So I just had to, put some tape on it and keep it moving. That was it.
Now I know when you did pass the clinicals and you actually passed your final exam, I know when you read the description for the job of a dental hygienist, they say usually you work 20 hours a week or 15 to 20 hours a week, but your situation wasn't like that. You worked more.
Right. So while we were in school, the instructors, one of the biggest things was you don't want to burn yourself out. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't want to burn yourself out because hygiene is a job. Like you pretty much are doing the same thing all day.
Yeah.
And so a lot of hygienists, they do part-time, 2-3 days a week. But me, I was like hungry.
Yeah.
I was like, I can make this much if I work this many hours. So I had 2 jobs, 2 hygiene jobs. I was doing dental assistant, and then right after that, man, I had a job with my current employer, who I was a dental assistant with. Mm-hmm. So she put me right to work, and right from there, she put me there a couple days a week. And then from there, I was temping, through a temp agency. So the days I wasn't working, I was working.
Yeah. So you've been doing dental hygiene for how long?
Man, I graduated dental hygiene in 2005. 2005.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a little minute. I've been at my place of employment now for maybe like 13 years or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So if the plot couldn't get any thicker,
right,
then you decide to change again. And you got into real estate.
I did. Yep.
How did you decide to get into real estate, one, and how did you work that into your already busy schedule? Because keep in mind, and only because I know you, obviously, you have kids now, house now you have a real busy schedule. How did you make that transition and get that training and switch careers again?
So I've always wanted to get into real estate, and I like everything else. I just inquired about it. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who she was actually taking the classes, and she put me on to my coach now, Rob Rosa, and he was actually teaching the classes, and so I would do the classes after work. It was like an 11-week course. So the 11 weeks, I think classes was maybe from 5:30 to 6:30 or something like that. So I would go right after work, do the classes, and then after that you take an exam to get through the class, and then you take your boards, your state exam. Mm-hmm. And that's how it went, man.
Wow.
Initially, it was something. It was kind of like just a thought. But when I called him, he was like, "Yeah, man, come through." And he made it sound, not easy, but definitely something that you wanted to pursue, and so I called him on a Monday. I think I started classes on that Wednesday.
Now, how did you transition? Because I know that every year you've grown the real estate business that you have. How did you make that transition? Because you're working a full-time job and you got a family, and now you're married, you have a whole family. How did you make that transition to make real estate a bigger part of your life? Like, what things did you do because I think this part of your story is interesting because a lot of people have desires and dreams, but they can't find in themselves a practical way to go about executing and making that thing happen. How did you make the real estate thing get bigger while working at a dental place full time?
First you just had to map it out. Like how am I going to make this work? How am I, investing this time and this energy into something? How can I, reap the benefits of it? And so, as a hygienist moving forward, so from when I initially started being a hygienist, I was working crazy hours, right? So now I've been in the field 10, 12 years, so I'm at a steady job, but I'm working kind of less days, you know what I'm saying? So I was working Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday. I was working, because I had actually started working at a part-time at a different, like a chain.
Yeah.
So I just kind of made it my business to make the time. Long story short, I cut back some of my hours with my dental, with my dental office, to try to focus more time in the real estate world. And that's what it is. It's a transition.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of agents. There's no such thing as a part-time agent. But I've actually been pretty successful as a part-time agent. It's hard.
Yep.
It is hard. It's not something. If I had the opportunity to, I would become full-time agent tomorrow. But like you said, just the way that it's working out for me, the transition that I'm doing, it works well for me.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. You got to do what works well for you.
Yeah, I appreciate one conversation we had when I was out doing door-to-doors for Tripletote, and we had a conversation. I was at home, and you were like, you said something really simple, but it really sparked me. You was like, yo, just go hard at it. Just go hard at it. And in hip hop land, I think about what 50 Cent said. Lloyd Banks said, "Switch your style up, and if they don't like it, you know what I'm saying, just watch the money pile up." Yeah, sure. And I just took it like that. I said, you know what, you're right. And what I liked about it was the message was simple, so I didn't have to overthink. And sometimes, especially me, I can be an overthinker. But you made it so simple. I was just like, yeah. And from that, probably had only gone to like 4 or 5 stores door to door at that point. And then I just was like, you know what? Yeah. And then the strategies of how to hit more doors came. The strategies of how to get more yeses came. The fear went down. I started to get exhilaration from like the chance of getting a no. But it started from just a simple concept and ended up 264 doors I went to door to door. And hearing your story and you tell it from your perspective, you did that every time you switched. You took a very simple concept and just put a lot of work behind it, and it morphed into something actually real, tangible, from coming back living with your mom's inside her house to gradually moving into your own place from just working 2 jobs, to gradually switching to a dental assistant, to gradually getting into dental hygiene, to then foraying that into more than a full-time dental hygiene position, then gradually getting into real estate, and now you're doing the same thing by making real estate a bigger part of your life. That's what this episode is about. It's about how do I change careers when I feel like I need to change, and how do I do it in a way that makes sense, because you may have a family, you may have bills, you may have a house, and what I like about your story is that you demonstrate in a very practical way, no half-court shots. You just work at it day after day after day, a grind for sure, hard work for sure, and showing that if you commit at least to hard work, that you can get something out of it.
Absolutely. Like growing up, I was never like an honor student, you know what I'm saying? But I was never like a bad student, you know what I'm saying? So, but I know people that are a lot smarter than me, that are doing less than me, but the concept that I stick to is just the discipline of it. You know what I'm saying? The consistency of it. Like I tell people that all the time. And people are like, yo, congratulations on your success. Like and I'm like, not that I didn't do anything, but I just kind of just was consistent with my thoughts to you know what I'm saying, to manifest it into what I'm doing. You know, so for anybody out there who's in that position, you know, looking for change, you know, or whatever the change is, you know, to put yourself in a better position, do what's right for you, man, and just stay true to your course, stay true to yourself. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing, because that's what we get caught up with a lot. You know, people always, you should just jump right into real estate. You got to go full time. Like, yeah, that's what you did. I don't think that's gonna work for me. You know, or like, man, you working 2 jobs. You should just stop this. I don't think that's gonna work for me. You know, so it's about being true to yourself, knowing your capabilities, you know, as a person, and staying true to what you want, man. You know, I instill that same energy into my kids. You know, it's like, you don't gotta be the best at it, but just be consistent at it. You know what I mean? Like, I was never the smartest kid, but I always excelled through every level of my education. You know what I'm saying? Always top of my class, pretty much. You know what I mean? But it's consistency. You know, and people tend to think they can't do things for whatever reason. Age. You know, they think they're older. You know, they think they don't have the resources. But we've been friends for how long?
More than half our lives.
More than half our lives, and we done seen each other do things that we didn't think we would see each other do. Just off of pure will. And you know, and resistance against what everybody else thinks we should do, or how we should do it. You know, I've never been a follower. You know what I mean? It's my mindset. You know, it's about doing what works for you, man. Period.
And on that note, I want to thank Davonne Biggins for coming out to the show today.
I appreciate you for having me, man.
Man, it's great. But a lot of people are really going to be able to relate to.
I hope so.
And get benefit from your story.
I hope so.
I want you guys to tune into the 3rd episode coming up of the podcast. We're going to try to bring you more quality guests like Mr. Davonne Biggins and give you more information, inspiration. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah.